Hello, my name is Michelle Strait. I will be your English 2 Pre-AP teacher this year. I am not here today because I'm at the Edinburgh County Courthouse. I'm a member of the grand jury. What is the grand jury? I'll tell you on Thursday. Just because I am not on campus doesn't mean you won't be working. You will learn quickly that this is a pre-AP class, which means that time is of the essence, since we only meet every other day. Therefore, even when I am not in class, you are expected to complete your assignments, even today. First, we'll be going over the class syllabus. The substitute will pass this out now. You will need a pen, pencil, or highlighter. Follow along and mark your syllabus as I review it. Listen to this awesome music while I give the substitute time to pass out the papers and you time to find something with which to write.
Created using Powtoon.
Alright, you'll notice at the top it has my contact information. It starts with my name and then it has my email, my conference times. If your parents need to get a hold of me, email is the best way. I can usually respond in 24 hours. You'll notice my room number on the other side, the phone number. Again, if your parents need to get a hold of me, email is the better way. They call the office, I probably won't get it for a week or two. My conference periods, 3 to 3:40 Wednesday through Friday, Monday and Tuesday I'm not available. Possibly second semester, but first semester I won't be available Monday, Tuesday, but Wednesday through Friday I'll be here, and I'm usually here after school anyway. We also have a class website. I'm going to go ahead and show you that right now. Okay, so this is our class website. On here you're going to find a bunch of stuff about the class, a lot of information. It starts off with the home page with my email if you need to email me. The second tab over here on the left is going to give you the class PowerPoints. The PowerPoints I go over in class with the directions and the assignments and the rubrics and everything will be located here. And if you're absent, all you have to do is come to the page and click on it and look at it. I'm usually pretty good about putting them up. By the end of the week, they'll all be up for sure, but I'm usually pretty good about putting them up day by day so that you have access to them if you're absent. The next tab is classwork and homework assignments. This is where I put copies if they're available. Again, if you lose it, you can just come here and get it, or if you need another copy. The fourth tab here is essay templates and information. This is basically all the things we're going to go over when it comes to essays. So this little infographic here, we're going to go through that. This is just a different kind of infographic telling you the same thing. Some examples, the essay template that we're going to use, and then some videos. I might show these videos in class. If I don't, you can always come on here and look at them. They're pretty cool. Which leads to our next tab. The next tab is the Images and Videos tab. Any images and videos I show in class will be located here in case you want to go back and review them at some time, or you really like them, you want to show them to your friends who have, a similar class and they're struggling, and you're like, well, Michelle Strait showed this really cool video, let me show it to you. This is just a really easy way to find it and access it. The last tab is a tag about archetypes. This is something that has to do with AP. It's a very interesting concept, and we'll be going over it throughout the year. It has like the definition and the 3 different types, and then some examples, some more examples in files if you want to download the file and open it up and look at it. And then, of course, some videos about it. You also notice down here at the bottom I put citations. That's because I did not create these images. I borrowed them. So I must cite it so that I'm not plagiarizing. And like, for example, if the people who own this picture right here happen to be browsing the internet and they find this on my website, they might call and complain or even try and take me to court for it. But since I cited it, I gave them credit for it. I'm not plagiarizing, and they're happy, and I'm happy, and I get to keep my pictures up here. So anyway, that was just a side note. This is our class webpage. Like I said, any questions you might have, please let me know. This next section on your syllabus is called the course name and description. You can read through it on your own time, but it basically says we're going to be studying world literature. As a sophomore, you study literature from all across the world. So we'll be reading short stories, poems, expository, persuasive articles, novels, having to do with world concepts rather than like U.S. concepts. We'll also be focusing on vocabulary, grammar, essay writing, all that other good stuff that an English class needs to focus on. As far as supplies, it's pretty simple. Blue or black ink pens, either one. Pencils are okay. I prefer pens. They're easier to see, but I know people like pencils because you can erase them. Either one works. We'll be doing a lot of things online. I have laptops for you guys to use, so whichever you kind of prefer there is fine, because most of the stuff you'll be writing down will be for your own sake. So whatever you want to use. A one subject spiral, it can be your summer reading assignment journal. If you did your summer reading assignment in a spiral or a composition notebook, you can just keep that one and keep using it, because we're going to be using it for the same thing, dialectical journals. So you just need one of those. One folder with brads, any color, any design. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you, as long as it has the little brads, so you can, put the essays in there so they don't fall out, because it's going to be for your essays. 5 different colored highlighters. We'll be color coding essays, color coding short answers, things like that. So you're going to want a bunch of different colored highlighters. I have some available, but not one for everybody. So if you don't bring highlighters, you're probably going to have to share. So that's kind of up to you. I also recommend you get a pen drive so you can save things. Like I said, we do a lot of things electronically. Most of the things we do electronically will be on Google Docs or Google Slides, which are saved on the internet, and you don't have to worry about saving it on a pen drive. But for those of you who, prefer to work in Word and copy and paste it over, or whatever, you might want to get a pen drive. Also very important, earbuds or small headphones, not those big Beats. I do occasionally, like I said, post videos. You might want to watch them, and we don't want everybody in the world to hear them. Also, when you're doing independent work like silent reading or writing an essay, I do allow you to listen to music as long as you have headphones, so that it's not disturbing anybody else. So those are some recommended things. But again, don't go home and tell your parents, I have to have these things, because you don't have to have them. They are just recommended. The next section on the syllabus is the one about electronics, which I just kind of spoke about. We use electronics almost every day in this class. That means that you need to remain on task when the assignment calls for the use of electronic devices. If you're caught off task, which is Snapchatting, Facebooking, texting, taking selfies, taking any other kind of video, anything like that, I will confiscate your device for the remainder of the period. And then you'll have to do the assignment by hand, which nobody likes to do. So keep that in mind. You will have a chance to complete the assignment by hand only. That means if I have to confiscate your device, you cannot go home and do it and turn it into me electronically. It has to be done by hand, because that is your punishment for being off task. Now, again, don't go home and say, Mom, I have to have a computer for Miss Shellstraight's class. You don't need to. I have computers that you'll be able to use. I have about 11 laptops, and then I have 2 desktops. Might get some more desktops, and we'll see. But I will have electronic devices. So don't go home and tell your parents you need a computer. However, if you do have one and you feel safe enough bringing it to school that you don't feel like it's going to get broken or stolen or anything like that, you can bring it. Last year I had several students bring their computers and their netbooks and things like that, and we never had any issues, and it worked really well. So up to you. In order to use an electronic device in class, you must sign the electronic use policy. I'm actually going to give that to you next class period, so I can go over it with you. The apps we'll be using in class are all free apps. They should not cost you any money. If they do, then do not buy them. I think the only provider that charges is like Cricut. I think a student told me, well, I have to pay $50 for Pic Collage. And I was like, well, then don't buy it. Like, that's ridiculous. You can use it for free on one of my laptops. So these are the apps we're going to be using. If you're going to use your phone or bring your iPad and use your iPad or anything like that, please download them as soon as possible. School Wi-Fi is very slow. So if you get to class and I'm like, okay, we're going to be using Pic Collage today, and you're like, oh, hold on, I got to download it, you'll probably have to go stand over by the window, and even then it might not work because the Wi-Fi is, off and on, and so many people using it and all that kind of stuff. So go ahead and try and download these as soon as possible so you already have them available. Because we do use electronics in class, I always have my sign out that says BYOD, and I always have it in my lesson plans. So if an administrator comes in, they know, okay, so the teacher's planned for this. She's letting us know that students are using electronic devices. They will walk around the room. They will check. They will confiscate if you're off task. Usually people aren't, but it can happen. However, very, very, very important. No videotaping or photography of people is allowed in class, not even selfies. Taking pictures or videos of people in class will lead to disciplinary action. I don't know if you know this, but you cannot take videos or pictures of people without their permission. If you do, they can press charges, and that is an issue. And that includes me. I've had students try to videotape me teaching, and I'm like, no. Number one, you should have asked. Number two, no. If I want to videotape myself, I will videotape myself. And of course, usually it's because they just wanted to hear what I was saying again, or, something like that. But always, ask in that case before you do it. I might allow it. It just depends. But the rule of thumb here is do not do it. It can get you in a lot of trouble if you're taking pictures of somebody and they don't want you to, and then you post them somewhere. If it comes back, things can happen. And if an administrator comes back to me and says, this student took a video in your classroom, it's posted on the web, and everybody sees it, so-and-so's parents got all mad, blah, 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 then that means we won't be allowed to use electronics in class at all. Like, they will take away that privilege, and that is not acceptable. So keep that in mind. No videotaping or photography in class. Whenever we do take a test, I'm not a big testing teacher. You'll find that out real quick. We do projects, we do presentations, we do group work, but we do not take tests unless we have to. Usually it's a 6 weeks test that's, mandatory from central office type of thing. You will have to turn your electronic devices in. I usually allow you to put them in your backpack in the side of the room, that's fine. But anybody who's caught with an electronic device during testing will get an automatic 0 with no retest permitted. So you can't say, oh, I forgot it was in my pocket. No, it doesn't work like that, because I remind you several times and I ask you several times before testing. So just make sure you turn in an electronic device before testing. I have had students who just, okay, no, I'm not gonna give you my phone. Well, then it's a 0. Well, then it's a 0. Okay, well, then it's a 0. And that's like 40% of your grade. So that's a decision you make. It's just very easy. I don't keep them. I don't do anything with them. I give them right back. Just like with your STAR test, you get it right back. It's not a big deal. But just a heads up on that. Going back to the no videotaping in class, I did have a group last year for a project they wanted to do, they wanted to act it out. In a case like that, if you ask me and you show me the plan ahead of time, I will probably allow it. But don't just do it. Make sure you ask me. Just so that I'm aware, and that, if an administrator comes in, I can say, oh, they're doing this for an assignment, that type of thing. All right, the next thing on the syllabus is the class participation expectations. This is basically what I expect of you. I expect you to be prompt. That means you need to be on time. I usually, because I know getting from one end of the building to another takes more than 5 minutes, and that's all they give you on the bell, I usually stand out there for an extra few minutes. So I'm not saying don't rush to get to class, because you do need to rush, but don't try and kill yourself getting to class, knocking people out of the way and whatnot. Like I usually, like I said, stay out there a few minutes just in case. But be prompt, that's very important because we start quickly and we go, go, go. We don't stop for the entire period. So if you come in late, you've already missed an assignment. The bell ringer is the first 5 minutes of class. You come to last class 10 minutes late, you've already got a 0 on the bell ringer. I mean, that's just the way it is. So make sure you're here before that time is up. Be prepared. Always come with what you need. Any homework that's assigned. Usually homework is very easy. It won't take you longer than 10 minutes. It's practice of what we did in class. But you need to have it, when you walk in the room. Don't be sitting there doing it as, the class starts, because that's not being prepared. Be polite. That's a basic necessity, right? Like you have to respect other people's properties and ideas. You can't just, put everybody down or not listen to them, because this class is about new ideas and thinking outside of the box and learning new things. And people are going to have questions and people are going to be confused and they're going to want to know things. And so being polite and respectful is very, very important. I don't like it when people put each other down because you think one way, but someone thinks a different way. And just because they're asking a question because they thought a different way, that doesn't make them, any less intelligent than you. It just means they think a different way. So be polite to each other, help each other out, that type of thing. Be engaged in your classwork and an active participant. Those people that just sit there and don't do anything, you're going to fail. Like this class is just designed that you have to participate. You have to do things. I had last year at least 2. They sat there, they did nothing all year long. And I gave 0s on the report cards. I'm not one that, let me give you a 50. Oh, poor thing. No, you get a 0, a straight 0. You can't come back from that. Once you get a 0 on 1 6 weeks, you'd have to get hundreds on the rest of them to pass. So you have to be engaged. You have to be doing something. You have to earn your grade. It's not going to float to you like a present. No, it doesn't work like that. Lastly, be cognizant. For those of you who are like, whoa, what is that word? Cognizant has to do with cognitive ability, your brain. But in this case, it's more like be aware or know. Know of the 21st century technology netiquette and practice good online habits. So like I said, we use a lot of tech in here. You'll be doing discussion boards. You'll be making a website. You'll be collaborating with others on essays and presentations and projects and things like that. So I'm going to teach you things you need to know to be able to do that. Those are 21st century skills. Those are the skills you're going to need when you get a job, when you go to college, things like that. When you go to college, a lot of professors put you in groups with people you don't even know. And you have to be able to work with those people. And sometimes you don't even meet them face to face. It's all online. So I'm going to show you how to practice good etiquette, how to send a good email that's not all, winky faces and happy little semicolon thingies and stuff like that. We're going to talk about discussion boards, the appropriate way to post, the appropriate way to reply, things like that. So we'll be going over those things, but know those skills and incorporate them into your life because you use technology every single day. Okay, this next part of the syllabus is your grading policy. This one follows the PSJA ISD policy. So every class in PSJA has the same grading policy. Unless it's an STC class, then it's an STC grading policy. So this really applies to all your classes, so you should be familiar with it. So for tests, they're worth 40%. They're the big ones, and we're required to give 2 of those. So they're each worth 20%. Quizzes, we're required to give 2, and they're 15%, so each one's about 7.5% of your grade. The classroom work and homework is 20%, and we have to give at least 6 of those. Projects are 10%, and we're required to give 1. 6 weeks exam, 15% we're required to give 1. The test grades are obviously the most important. If you're looking at this, think of the weight of that test grade, because I have lots of students who are like, but I did all the classwork and homework. Yeah, but that's 20%. And if you did bad on a test, which is like a 50, then obviously that's going to drop your grade a lot. So even if you did all your classwork and homework, you're still not going to be at a very high grade. Usually your tests, like I said, I don't really give tests. It's all projects and presentations and things like that, and essays. So that's good for you because essays and projects and presentations and things like that, you can revise and edit and turn in again for a higher grade. So your test grades are usually pretty flexible and you get what you want if you're willing to work for it. If you're not willing to work for it, then your grade's always going to reflect that, right? That's just everybody knows that you have to work for it. When it comes to classwork and homework, I usually give you an extra so that I can drop your lowest in case you were absent one day, because that's usually work we do in class. And projects, it's one, we only required to give one, but I usually give 2 grades for that. One's like a group grade and one's an individual grade. So that way it kind of balances itself out in case you have someone in your group who just did not do their part. So that kind of takes care of that. The 6 weeks exam grade is usually an exam given by the district unless I can find a way around that, which like I said, I don't really like giving tests. So if I can find a way around it, I usually do. You'll see there it says projects can include presentations, research papers, models, reports, collages, posters, experiments, etc. I always, for your tests, like I said, it's usually projects and presentations, things like that. And the projects, I always give rubrics. So very easy to get a good grade. If you read the rubric, you do what's on the rubric, you're going to get a high score. It's just as simple as that. Going back to the quiz grades, we read about 1 novel every 6 weeks in class. One of your quiz grades is probably going to be the AR test, if available. If not, it'll be some sort of not exactly a project, but some sort of reflection on that novel. So keep that in mind if for those of you who are like, oh, I'm not going to pay attention during the novel reading. Well, not paying attention is going to reflect on your classwork, your quizzes, and then your project. It's going to reflect on everything. So, and plus we're reading in class. So seriously, just pay attention. It's very easy. Underneath, you're going to see all the different little stipulations to the grading policy. One of them is that if you're absent, you need to come pick up the work. That's another thing. People will tell me, well, I was absent, so I didn't do it. Well, it doesn't just disappear. You still have to do it. It's like, if I'm absent, do I not have to leave you work? Can I just not show up and be okay? No, like my principal expects me to leave you assignments to still teach you. I expect you to still learn. So if you're absent, you need to come do the makeup work. If it's for some reason a 6 weeks test or whatever, then you're going to have to come in after school or at lunch or on the weekend and get it done. It's just not going to disappear. You're going to end up with a 0 for it. Like I said, it's not going to go away. Due dates, all work is due on the date announced in class. Again, I'll have it on the calendar when it's due and what type of assignment it is, how much it's worth, everything like that. So it should be fairly easy for you to, oh, that was due yesterday. Okay, I better get that done. I know I had that happen more than once last year where students were like, was that assignment due? I don't remember it ever being due. And I'm like, yeah, I've said it like 5 times and it's on the calendar. And they're like, oh. If I do accept late assignments, I usually take 10 points off per class per day, but it's always better to turn it in than not turn it in. And I usually accept late work, for weeks after it's due. I don't know why, but I do. I guess because I want you to be successful. And as long as you get the work done, then I'm going to give you a grade for it. Attendance policy. This is a district attendance policy, but I need to go over it with you because it's very important. The whole thing about notes and stuff is the district stuff, but the most important thing you're going to need to see is on the top of the 3rd page. It's highlighted and bolded, and it says 5 absences. And you'll lose credit for the class. I cannot stress that enough to you. 5 absences, and it's per semester. So once you hit that 6th absence, you get an NG for the class. And it doesn't show up until the end of the year, and your report card will say NG, and you'll be like, why do I have NG? Or there'll be no credit, like where it says credit, it'll say 0, and you'll be like, why do I have a 0? And this is bad, because you can have like an A average in the class, because even though you were absent so many times, you came in and you got the work done, and then you still don't get credit because of your absences. So keep that in mind. I usually, after so many absences, I'll say something to you. I usually say something to the whole class. So I'm like, because you're not there, I'll be like, oh, snap, this is Robert's 5th absence, guys. If you see him, make sure to tell him he's absent one more time. He loses credit. Just so you're reminded that, you're losing credit for the class because of your absences. The tardy policy, I'm not super strict on it. I'm kind of one of those teachers that are like, okay, you guys are 15, 16 years old. You are responsible enough to know that you need to be in class on time, that you shouldn't be in the hallways wandering around, that type of thing. So when it comes to tardies, I mean, they say 3 tardies equals an absence. So you're tardy 15 times. You're going to, have your 5 absences, plus you get truancy officer calling on you and all that stuff. Well, that's something that you're choosing to do. I don't usually pay attention. You'll notice that if you come in tardy, if you're knocking on the door and stuff, I won't go over and answer it, because once I start class, I'm starting class. I'm working. I'm not going to interrupt teaching to open the door for you because you chose to be late. Now, if you're lucky, one of your really nice classmates may open the door for you, but don't expect me to stop teaching and open the door because you're late, because that's never going to happen. I should also point out that if you do come in late, or if you come in during another class period to ask me a question or turn in an assignment or anything, do not expect me to stop class and pay attention to you. I don't even do that if Mr. Marquez comes in the room. Once I've started class and I'm teaching, I don't stop until I'm at a pausing point. So if I'm giving directions or showing an example, I mean, like I said, it doesn't matter who comes in the room, whether it's you, a student, Mr. Marquez, the principal, somebody from central office. When I'm teaching, I'm teaching. And so if you need to ask me a question or you need to turn something in, you're going to have to wait until I pause. And then when I do pause and like I say, okay, everybody get out your stuff or whatever, and then I'll address you. But don't expect me to stop the world and talk to you, because that is never going to happen. Just a heads up on that so you don't freak out when it does happen, because it happens all the time. Research assignments. So one of the last summative assignments for this class, that means the last big assignments, is a website created by you utilizing research strategies, techniques, and 21st century learning skills. Don't freak out now, because I'm going to give you instructions throughout the year. The big one's not due till the end, and by the time you get there, it'll be so easy you won't even realize you did it. But it is the most important assignment of the course. It is the culmination of everything you learned in class. That means like the collective, like you're showing me everything you learned. Part of the website will be due in December as your semester exam. So you'll have a certain part, and like I said, you'll be working on it like starting next week. We'll be discussing it and start working on it. And so you'll build up to it, and by the time December comes around, I'll give you the rubric, you'll go through, fix anything you need to fix, and you'll pretty much be done. So don't be freaking out on that too much. The cumulative, the huge, big, completely finish your website is amazing, ready to be shared with the world. That one's not due till May, and that's going to be your final exam. We'll be working on many research papers and presentations throughout the year in order to develop and strengthen locating verifiable information, differentiating fake news and subpar resources, paraphrasing, citing, and other necessary research skills. Now you're sitting there going, why so much research? Because that's what most good jobs consist of doing. That's what colleges make you do. Almost all your college classes, you have to do some sort of research paper. And so by the time you leave my class, that stuff is going to be easy for you. If you're taking DC English next year, it'll be a breeze. If you're taking any sort of college classes in the next couple years, I'm sure like you'll just be like, oh, learn that with Michelle Straight. No problem. I got this. Which of course is one of my goals, so that you are prepared for those types of things. In the real world, you do research without even realizing you do it. You like this boy, he's super cute, but you don't know much about him. You get his name. What do? You look him up on Facebook, you look him up on Instagram, you look him up like crazy. when you hear a news like on the article or something on the TV or on the radio, you're like, oh, that's an interesting thing. I'd like to learn more about it. How do I find that information? Like those are things that you do, in real life. So the research assignments are geared to help you forever. Differentiating fake news, that's a big thing nowadays, especially, with the whole Trump campaign and all the fake news that came out during that time. Learning to know the differences is something that a skill you really need to pick up. So that type of assignment that you're sitting there going, oh God, that's so much work and it sounds so, that's stuff you're actually using every day of your life. You're just not, realizing it. And I'm just going to help you get better at it. Creating a website, something you might do in the future. You might even do it just for fun. The website we're going to use to create a website, which is kind of funny, but it's true. It's very easy to use. So like if you are a total gamer and you want to create a website based on your, favorite game, well, by the time we're done, you're going to be able to do that. You'll have your own website. It's kind of cool. So those are all skills, you really do need to know. It's not like something that you're never, ever going to use again. These are all skills you'll use again, which is why they're the most important assignments of the year. Plagiarism policy. If you don't know what plagiarism is, it says right there, or submitting someone else's work as your own. It's a serious academic offense. You can get expelled from college for plagiarizing, and no other college will accept you after that. It's considered the worst offense academically that you could ever do. So you definitely want to stay away from it. However, if you don't know how, it's hard. So we're going to go over it, how to avoid it, how to cite your information, how to summarize it, how to paraphrase it, all that good stuff. We go over it several times. So if you're caught plagiarizing the first time, I'll give you a separate. You'll have to come in after school or during lunch, and I'll give you a lesson. This is plagiarizing. How do you fix it? And then I'll show you again how to fix it, because I probably already did it in class more than once. But obviously it is kind of summarizing and paraphrasing can be kind of difficult. So it might take you some time to catch on. But in any case, I'll give you the option to redo the assignment for a better grade, because plagiarism is an automatic 0. Copying someone else's work and saying it's your own, that's just cheating, right? It's a 0. Any other offense after the first is just an automatic 0. Like after I've given you that chance and we've gone over it so many times in class, I'm just going to say, okay, you get that you're plagiarizing and you're not even trying anymore, so 0. Just heads up on that. All right, substitute teacher procedures. I'm very rarely absent. Like I said, I'm absent today, and I'll be absent every Tuesday until October 1st for grand jury, and that was like an extenuating circumstance, but it's a really fun thing, and like I said, I'll tell you about it on Thursday. But because this class meets every other day, and it's a pre-AP class, it's very, very important that you do your work, even if I'm not there. That means I expect it to get done. And if it doesn't, you're going to hurt grade-wise. Like, it's going to hurt you. So if you just read it, it'll say, in the event I'm absent, please aware that all assignments are to be completed during the class period. They are due the day they're dispensed when there is a substitute. That means you cannot take them home. You can't get the work, sit there and chat and, take pictures and listen, play on your phone all day. Or all period, and then go home and do the work and bring it to me the next day. You cannot do that. I do not accept work like that. It has to be done in class. It has to be left with a substitute. I leave very clear instructions for substitutes. If for some reason you do not trust the substitute, which happens, like the substitute just seems like they don't know what they're doing and they might lose things, give it to the teacher next door. Say, I'm in Ms. Shuster's class. She's not here. Will you hold this assignment for me? Usually they'll say, of course, and they'll keep it no big deal. But do not take them home, because I'm going to assume if you were in class and you did not turn it in, I'm going to assume that you just didn't do it. It's also, each assignment is designed for you to do it without my assistance. Very simple assignments. that I expound upon in the next class. So let's say I'm absent, I leave you a story to read and questions to answer. Very simple, right? I should not have to worry about you taking it home and doing it for homework, or not doing it because it's too hard. No, it's very simple. You read the story, you answer the questions. Super easy. So it's designed to be done without me and in class, in that hour and a half should be done. Every task when I'm absent is for a grade, and some might be for major grades. If I say, rewrite the final draft of your essay and turn it in before you leave, that's a test grade. The final draft of an essay is a test grade. That's 20% of your grade. If you choose not to do that, that's going to hurt you. You're going to get a 0 on that. So make sure you get that done. Now, I know there's a thing where you walk by and you're like, oh, there's a substitute, I'm skipping, and you don't come to class. I always check the sub will leave list of absences. I check and I see if you've been absent all day, you're fine. You were absent. If you're absent only to my class, you're skipping. Going back to the attendance policy, skipping a class, if you look back up there, it'll tell you, skipping class is an automatic 0 on all assignments. You don't get to make them up. You don't get to try again. You chose to skip class, so you chose to get a 0. The same for when there's a substitute. Oh, miss, I have to go to drama, and the sub lets you go to drama, and you don't do the work, that's a 0. I don't look at the little notes of sub leaves, oh, so-and-so had to go to drama. I don't care, because my class is your only testing class this year. For STAR, for graduation, there is no reason for you to leave my class. So make sure that even when there's a substitute, you are here and you get the work done. Now, if you finish the work and the sub allows you to go to drama and she leaves me a note, oh, finished work, went to drama, okay, that can happen depending on, how fast a reader you are or how much you know the material or whatever, and that's not a big deal as long as you got the work done. But don't skip class, not do the work, because that's an automatic 0. As it says there, all day absences is the only excuse for not turning in an assignment, so make sure you get it done. Mainly, I'll be leaving these video lessons, so all you have to do is listen and follow along. Not too hard to do, right? Okay, now we move on to the fun part, your 2017 summer reading assignment. About half of you right now are probably going, well, I don't know anything about it. I didn't get a book. I don't know what's going on. Da, da, da. I don't accept excuses like that. Even if you're like, well, I came from another school district. Okay, get a book and read it and get it done. Because I am not going to hear, well, excuse, I didn't get it done. You didn't get it done, that's 0s for you. End of story. So even if you don't have a book, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the library at lunch or after school and you're going to check one out. She should have multiple copies there because we have about 400 of them in the book room. So that shouldn't be an issue. The book you were supposed to read and annotate is called Night. I'm not going to check your annotations. So if you need to check it out from the library, that's fine. Annotations are writing in the book. We're not going to, it helps you for some of the assignments, but I'm not going to check it. So you can use the library book. The second part of that assignment is to complete 20 dialectical journal entries. The dialectical journal entries, I'll just tell you real fast, are those double entries where you take a quote from the story and you write it on the left side of the paper, and on the right side you write your reaction. You can also point out things like, you can ask a question, you can make a prediction, you can point out figurative language like, oh, he used a simile, the author used a simile here to show, how intense the snow was, or some sort of thing like that. 20 journal entries is nothing. Like, it's very simple to do. And again, if you did it in a spiral or in a composition notebook, you can use that for the rest of the year. You don't need to go get another one. As well as creative projects. So you also had to do a little project. Those projects, you're going to want to bring them all into me, and I'm going to have 150 of them all over the place, probably 175, depending on how many of you bring them in. So we're going to have to, number one, make sure your name is on it. I cannot stress this enough. If you happen to bring both of those things today, the dialectical journal and the project, the dialectical journal is going to go in the yellow cart, yellow and blue cart in the front of the classroom, and the project is going to go on the counter. Okay, so again, make sure your name is on both of those things. I can't tell you how many people turn them in without names, and then somebody else claims them, and I don't know whose are who, so whoever claims them, claims them. So make sure first and last names are on there. They are both due by Friday. So you see, I'm giving you a little bit of time there. If you didn't bring them today, which some of you, probably most of you didn't, like I said, half of you are probably like, I didn't even do it. So you have until Friday. The book is not long, and it's a very interesting book. It is a autobiography. It's a true story. This really happened to him. Has to do with World War II and the Holocaust. It's very sad, but it is a very good book. Once you start reading it, you'll get into it, and you'll probably read it fairly quickly. The dialectical journals are going to be a homework grade, so they're one of those 20% grades, and the project is your project grade, so it's 10% for the first 6 weeks. Please be aware that you will need the book night for several assignments throughout the first six weeks. So again, if you have not read it, it's imperative that you do so immediately. For the entire first 6 weeks, we're going to be discussing it. We're going to be using excerpts from it. You're going to be using your dialectical journals also, because you're going to want quotes that you wrote down in reference to some of the assignments we're going to be doing. So if you're sitting there going, well, I haven't read it, I'm going to fail the first 6 weeks. Yes, you are. If you do not read it, I can guarantee you're going to fail the first 6 weeks. And that's a conscious decision that you are making, because I'm giving you time to get the book and to read it. Their audio is online for free on YouTube. Just Google Night by the author Eli Wiesel and audiobook, and it'll pop up. You can listen to it. It's fine. Listening to it is, similar to reading it. Not exactly the same, but similar. It'll get the job done. So no excuse for not doing it, but I can tell you, and you can ask my students from last year, even though it was a different book, you didn't do that summer reading, you're going to fail the first 6 weeks, and it's really hard to come back, and it's really depressing to fail the first 6 weeks. So make a conscious decision right now that if you have not done that summer reading, you're going to go home and get it done, okay? I accept the late summer reading assignments until September 23rd with the grading scale as follows. So starting next week, if you bring it in, it's going to be minus 10 points from the project and minus 10 points from the dialectical journal. So the highest grade you're going to be able to get is a 90. The week after, it's 20. So the highest grade you're going to be able to get is an 80, and then 70, and then 60, and then it's the end of the 6 weeks. So we're moving on at that point. Tutoring is our next topic. Tutoring is held every Saturday. Should be starting September 9th from 9 to 12. Remember, it's called Java Cafe or something like that, and they give you free breakfast, and they usually have like hot cocoa and things like that. You can earn extra credit every time you attend tutoring. Probably the first couple tutorings will be focusing on summer reading for those of you that haven't done it. But we'll see. I might change the topics. I usually tell you the whole week before, okay, on Saturday tutoring, we'll be focusing on essay writing or something like that. So if you know you're weak in that area, you can come. But every time you come, it's an extra, usually give you extra 10 points to your lowest grade. So keep that in mind for those of you that are like, when it comes to grades. In addition, second semester, there'll be after school tutoring and pull-out tutoring. Usually it's during 8th or 9th period. Kind of depends. They assign us different times. But I'll let you know more about that second semester. We will have a benchmark. It says November. Sometimes they give it in October. Sometimes in December, but around November. And then another one usually at the end of January, beginning of February. Failure on either benchmark makes it a requirement that you attend tutoring so that we can ensure that you pass your English 2-star, which this year won't be until April 12th. So usually it's like March 31st. So we got an extra week and a half or so there to work with you. But keep that in mind. When benchmark time rolls around, you mess around on that benchmark and you don't pass it, you're on the tutoring list. That means you have to attend on Saturdays, and you will be pulled out of class during it's either 8th or 9th period for tutoring. So if you're one of those people like, oh, I love my 8th and 9th period, well, don't fail the benchmark, because then you'll be missing part of that class to come sit with me and learn more fun STAR stuff. Communication, the Remind sign up for those of you who've never had Remind before. It's an actual education app designed especially for students and teachers. to communicate. So it's very safe. I don't know your phone number. You don't know my phone number. But you have a question, you shoot me a text, and it's going to pop up on my phone, and I can shoot you an answer right back. I can also send you pictures of assignments. If you were like, Miss, I need an example of what you're asking for, I can go ahead and shoot you a picture. I can also send you a link. If you're like, what was that site that you told us to go to? I can send you a link through Remind as well. You can sign up via email, or you can sign up on your phone. It's pretty easy to do. Everything's monitored, so anytime I send you a picture or you send me a picture or anything like that, it's archived automatically, and it goes through a system automatically, so nothing inappropriate will ever happen. If your parents are worried about anything like that, please make sure you tell them. Your parents can also register. Some parents like to do that because sometimes I shoot out homework reminders, if I remember to send out homework reminders. Don't forget to bring, your homework tomorrow, a day, or don't forget your project is due tomorrow. And some parents like to see that because then they're like, oh, then they can remind you, right? So they can also sign up. The directions are right here. If you have a smartphone, you can go ahead and open your web browser, put in that. It's much easier if you have a phone or a smartphone to just go ahead and text to 81010, and you're going to text at MSSCHELSTR, which is part of my last name. And then it'll go ahead and sign you up. It'll ask you for your name. Don't put baby boy, because I'm not going to know who baby boy is. So if you text me later with a question, I'm going to be like, who is this? Put your actual name. I usually give extra credit as well if you sign up. I give an extra 10 points your first 6 weeks. Actually, sometimes people sign up later in the year. They don't remember this part of it, or they didn't do it to begin with. So usually anytime you sign up, like if you don't sign up now, you signed up in December, whatever, I'll give you an extra 10 points for signing up because it helps me communicate with you, and it's kind of an important thing. So you want your real name on there. Also, if your parents sign up, I give you another extra 10 points. So you want them to put a name that tells me that who they're related to, so I can go ahead and give you that credit as well. Now, the last part of the syllabus, and I know you're like, oh my God, she's never stopped talking. This thing is so long. I can guarantee you that this will be the only day where I'm not physically standing up there, but let's just say figuratively standing up there talking. I give directions, I show examples, and then you do. And I walk around and I help. That's the way my class works. So you will rarely see me standing there talking forever and ever and ever and ever. This is like the only time it will happen throughout the year. And I apologize if you're falling asleep or if you're bored. This is, again, the first day of school. You're just getting information. First day of class, sorry. You're just getting information that I need you to get. So if you're asleep or someone next to you is asleep, you might want to poke them and wake them up and be like, she's almost done. Just to give you a heads up on that. Okay, so anyway, this last part is pretty important. It's your pre-AP contract. If you're sitting in this class and you have not passed your English 1 test, you need to know something straight up. I don't go over that material, ever. Okay? So if you are what's called a retester, you're going to retest the English 1 because you didn't pass it the first time. You need to head to the counselor ASAP and get moved to another class. More than likely, I've already requested it for you, but it usually works better if you go and do it. It works faster if you go and do it. Because this class is not designed for you. It's not going to help you pass the English 1 at all. And it won't hurt you per se to stay in the class, but I have had retesters that have stayed in class and they haven't passed their English 1 or the English 2. Whereas if they had been in a retester class, you're much more likely to pass those tests. So just a heads up on that. If you're sitting in here and you're like, oh, I didn't do so well on my English 1, I don't know why I'm in here. Well, number one, it was probably an accident. Counselor made a mistake. An administrator made a mistake. Something along those lines. Like I said, you want to go to the counselor, you want to get that fixed because that's your future. You have to pass those tests to graduate, and you need to take charge and say, hey, I want what's best for me, and what's best for me is to be in a class where I get the instruction I need to pass those tests. This is a pre-AP class. This is a class designed, it's every other day. It's designed for a lot of student-focused work, which means you have to be disciplined. You have to take it upon yourself to get things done. I am not going to bug you to get it done. I'm not going to get after you to get it done. If you don't do it, you fail. That's the end of the story. I do, like I said, I give chances. I give printouts of missing assignments right before progress reports and right before report cards. And I have extra copies of the assignments by the door in the little pocket. It's called like a file folder holder, which is a weird thing, but I call it a pocket chart. The red one will have your copies of your assignments in there. And so all you have to do if you're absent is go pick up the assignments, or if you lose a rubric or something, the extras are always there. But that's up to you to go do. I'm not going to be like, hey, you were absent yesterday, you're missing this, this, and that. Can you go get it and get it done? No. And if you fall asleep in class, I'm not going to wake you up and say, hey, you need to do your work. I'm going to be like, okay, he's choosing not to do his work. He's choosing to get a 0. Not my problem. His parents' problem, not mine. So that is what a pre-AP class is. It's preparing you for AP classes next year. And AP classes are college classes. They're not going to baby you. So I'm not going to baby you. You have to be driven. So we have certain goals because this is a pre-AP class. They're listed there. You can see them: to create career and college ready students, to educate students at a higher level so they scored a master's level on the STAR test. For those of you that are still like, what is it they always say? I want to be commended or whatever. It's not commended anymore. It used to be advanced level, and then last year they changed it to master's level. Basically, you're the top of the top. So everything in my class is designed at a high level, which is why I'm saying if you haven't passed your English 1, you're going to struggle in this class. I mean, it can be done. You can, do well in my class if you work really, really hard. I'm not saying it can't be done, because it has been done before. I have had retesters that the counselor didn't want to change their schedule or couldn't change their schedule, and they have stayed in here. But they have to work pretty much twice as hard as everybody else to catch up. So keep that in mind. It's all about the effort you put in. To ensure that students are TSI reading and writing complete by the end of their sophomore year, if you have not passed your TSI reading and writing, we are focusing on that the first semester. So by December, you should have passed both. I know all the tricks to the writing test. The reading is a little bit harder, but we're going to go through that as well, just as part of your learning. So it's kind of built in already. If you've already passed your TSI reading and writing, you're good to go. But those of you that haven't, that's one of our goals. And it says the end of the sophomore year, but I'm hoping to get everybody reading and writing complete by December. So that's one of my personal goals for this class, is to have all of you TSI complete. So that way, in your junior year, you can take the English 3 DC class with Mr. Glasser, I believe is the one who's teaching it. And you'll like him, he's real fun. But that's one of our major goals there. To prepare students for the ACT test, you're going to take next year as a junior. The ACT is a college entrance test. If you score high enough on it, you'll start getting college scholarship offers, you'll start getting college materials into your house, all that type of stuff. At the end of this year, usually around April, they give you the practice test. And the practice test does the same thing. If you score high enough, you'll start getting scholarship opportunities. So we'll be preparing for that as well, so that when you take it, you know what's on it, you know how to take that test. To train students in advanced placement strategies so you can be successful in AP and college courses. Again, that's for next year, although some of you may be taking some AP classes this year, like AP Chem. I know some of you taking AP Chemistry, AP World History. The advanced placement tests are, I don't want to say similar, but they do have characteristics across the board that are uniform. So training you in these strategies will help you with all your AP tests. So we'll be going through those first semester as well. Embedding your quotations is a big thing when you're writing. You do a lot of writing, even on the Chem test and the history test. You're going to do some writing. So All these strategies I'm going to teach you for AP, that's going to help you as well. And of course, to be able to recommend you for National Honor Society and other prestigious academic programs and scholarships based on your classroom performance. A lot of you will want to join National Honor Society or will want to go to, there's programs in the summer where you get to visit Harvard and Stanford and places like that. Some of you might want to actually take classes at those colleges, which if you're interested in, you should definitely look into, because they do take high schoolers in special programs, but you have to have teacher recommendation. And I don't recommend students that I feel cannot handle it. So your classroom performance is pretty important. If you work hard, you're going to be successful in my class. You're going to get a high score. If you don't, then you're not. It's just very simple. I had a student last year, super funny. He did nothing all year. At the end of the 6 weeks, he'd send me an email. Can you email me everything that I need to do to pass the 6 weeks? And I'd be like, no, because that's a lot of stuff. And there's no way I can email it to you, 2 days before grades are due and for you to get it done. I mean, I'd email him what I could, but some of that stuff is the work of the whole 6 weeks. And if you haven't done any of it, there's no way the last day, before grades are due, you're going to get it done. So you get it, so he always failed. And then at the end of the year, he was like, oh, I learned so much in your class. And I was like, haha, that was funny, because you didn't do anything all year. You get in what you put out, so if you put in the effort, you're going to get the grade. If you don't put in the effort, you're not going to get the knowledge or the grade. You should know that they are accelerated classes, not accelerated for STAR test taking. That's a different class. They're accelerated as far as content. So you'll notice what I teach is not what other teachers are teaching. That's because we have the same standards to teach, but I'm teaching it at a different level. I'm following more of the College Board curriculum, which is more of the AP, so that you can take those AP classes next year and do well. So you're not like, this is hard. You'll be like, okay, I got this. It says participation in these classes requires summer work, more rigorous testing, individual and group projects, and a higher expectation for class participation. That pretty much goes back to what I said at the beginning of the syllabus. You've got to participate. If you don't participate, you're not going to do well. And I don't mean talk. Like if you're a quiet person, you can still participate. It's not about, being loud and obnoxious and doing stuff like that. It's just participating is working with people, getting the work done, being active, not taking a nap, that type of thing. This is very, very important, and that's why it's bold. It says there is no time for reteaching concepts that a student might struggle with in class. I see you every other day. So I can't tell you how many times the counselor puts a student in my class in March, and the kid is like, I don't know what we're doing. And I'm like, yeah, it's a little bit late for you to be entering my class. And inevitably, they either go two ways. They work their butts off and they pass, or they fail. I can't go back and reteach concepts that I taught for 6 weeks if it's third 6 weeks and you still haven't gotten it. That's what tutoring is for. You must come in for tutoring to reteach. You can't come to me in November and be like, I never understood or studied the graphic organizer we use for essays, so I'm not really sure how you want me to write essays, because I'm going to say, here's a copy, learn it. I have taught it multiple times. If it's November, I've taught it more than once. And now it's up to you, because I don't have time, to single you out of the 30 people in the room and work with you on it. I don't have time for that. So any type of reteaching you need to come on Saturdays and practice on Saturdays or after school. Like I said, I'm usually here after school. But that's a big thing. You're going to see that a lot, like I said, when students enter my class in the middle of the 6 weeks. They just come to school, counselor puts them in my class, and they're going to be like, I don't understand what we're doing here. And I'm going to say, I'm sorry, there's 30 people in the room. I cannot stop what I'm doing to help you. Find a partner, ask them to help out. Ask them to explain things to you because there is no time for me to do that. So that, if you're a kind person and that happens, please feel free to take that new student under your wing and help them out, because the teacher, I can't at this point with this many students and only seeing you every other day, and this being a pre-AP class, I can't go back and reteach them because they came in late. Or I had a student that was out for 2 weeks because she broke her leg last year. And then she was like, I don't know what we did in those 2 weeks. And I'm like, well, I sent it home to you. And she goes, yeah, but I don't understand it. And I'm like, you need to get with your group members or your friends or somebody who has my class. You need to sit with them and they're going to teach to you. Or you could come in on Saturdays. Well, she got with her friends and they showed her what to do, which is fine. That works. But in class, I can't take that time to reteach one student. So again, if, we get a new student, feel free to kind of take them under your wing and help them out, because I can't go back and reteach everything I've taught you guys to someone who's just coming in. And again, if you sleep through first and second 6 weeks and third 6 weeks, you suddenly decide you want to pass, I'm not going to go back and reteach you. I mean, you're welcome to come in on Saturdays or stay after school, but I'm not going to take class time to reteach concepts I previously taught. Assigned readings and or assignments must be completed outside of class time, and like I said, it will not necessarily be retaught during class time. There are certain concepts that I go over periodically. They're usually the more difficult AP concepts, so it's like you saw it once, you'll never see it again. No, I'll probably bring that one up again. But the simple things, I feel like if I've gone over them once or twice, I shouldn't need to go over them every 6 weeks. So again, be cognizant or understand that reteaching does not happen in the class. And don't be upset if, you come to me and you're like, I was absent for 2 weeks and I don't know how to do this. And I say, okay, come in on Saturday. Don't get upset with me. This is something I'm being very upfront with you about right now. I can't take time out of the 9 other people in the classroom to help you. It's not fair to those 29. If you're struggling or falling behind, again, after school, Saturday, that type of thing, it is possible to move to another class. If you are struggling and you're worried that, this class is too hard for you, you can go to the counselor, you can ask for another class. It won't hurt my feelings at all. Well, maybe a little, but not. But I understand, like, it is not, a cakewalk. It does require a lot of effort. That being said, it's not like I won't help you. Again, I'll be here after school and on Saturdays. So if you put forth the effort, you will get the grade. If you don't put forth the effort, you don't get the grade. And you can talk to my previous year students, you can talk to the juniors and seniors, they'll tell you the same thing. Well, I did all the work, I get a good grade. The kids who didn't do work, they didn't get good grades. So keep that in mind. If you're failing, it's the amount of work you're putting in. Even when it comes to quality, like I said, everything we use is with a rubric. So I give you that rubric back and it tells you got a 50 because you're lacking this, this, and that. Then you go back and you change it and you resubmit it, and I go back and regrade it. I don't mind doing that. And yes, it takes time for me, but you learn more doing that. And that's what's important to me, is that you learn. Not so much, that, you copy the assignment from someone else, so you got a good grade. It's more that you put in the effort to learn. That's the important part. Like it says there, student success is of the utmost importance. So this is the student agreement. So this is the part you print your name and then you sign it. I understand and affirm that I have registered for and am committed to completing my pre-AP class. I understand that pre-AP classes are rigorous and challenging by design, and that one of the primary goals of these classes is to prepare students for college level classes at the high school. I understand that I am responsible for any and all assignments, projects, and homeworks, and that I have considered the workload of these classes in light of other commitments and activities. In addition to this, I recognize that primary responsibility for completing work, procuring and completing makeup work, and communicating with the teacher lies with the student. Again, I will not search you out. Hey, you were absent, so these are the assignments you're missing. No, it's up to you to get the assignments. And if you ask me about them during the middle of class or when I'm addressing the class, I'm probably going to ignore you. Not because I'm being rude, but because interrupting me is rude. So If you ask me like the first few minutes or the last few minutes, I can usually help you out, but be very cognizant of that too, very aware that interrupting me to ask about it will not get you the information you need. You need to wait until there's like a little period of time where I can actually, show you what you're missing or whatever. I have read the guidelines and expectations of the pre-AP course. I agree to organize my time and efforts to meet the academic challenges of this course. I will request help and attend tutorials if I fall behind in my class assignments or have difficulty with the coursework. I understand that my success in this pre-AP course is primarily my responsibility. Again, you get in, the amount of work you put in is going to be the grade you get. It is, entirely possible for even a retester to get an A in my class if they work really, really hard. So take that into account. If you are a slacker, you don't do your work, or you do it subpar, or you copy, which is very easy to figure out, then you're going to consistently get bad grades. Just speaking of copying briefly, cheating is one of my pet peeves. I get very upset when people cheat. I do not have a problem calling your parents and telling them you're a big cheater. I also give you an automatic 0. In the case where there are multiple people cheating, as in 2 people cheating off another person and the other person is aware type of thing, everybody gets 0s. That happened last year more than once on the AR tests. Taking an AR test and somebody's sitting there taking the test and there's somebody sitting next to them and it's very, very obvious giving them the answers, then I just give you both 0s. And usually I don't even say anything because I can see it. Even a classroom of 35 people, like last year I had classes of 36, I can see it. Like, I'm not blind. I don't even say anything to you. I just let you go ahead and do it, and then I just give you 0s, and then you get your what do you call it? Your printout of your missing assignments, and you'll be like, why do I have a 0? I took the test. Because you cheated. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did. So-and-so cheated too, and now he's got a 0 too. It's very, straightforward. The dialectical journals, I can't tell you how many people write down the exact same thing as somebody else. Really? Like, I'm not going to notice that? Come on, guys. Like, seriously. That's an automatic 0 for both of you. So, keep your journal close to you so that people don't copy it. But those of you that are lazy and you want to copy, keep that in mind. You're going to get a 0 and that person's going to get a 0. 2 years ago, I had someone copy an essay. I was like, are you serious right now? Like, I realize I have to grade 175 essays, but in reading them, am I going to notice that 2 are exactly the same? Yeah, pretty much. You can't, have very similar essays. Essays are very personal, and you use personal experiences, you use things that you've seen, you describe it in a way that you describe it. Don't do things like that. That's just going to hurt you. Number one, it's going to hurt my opinion of you, because I cannot stand cheaters. I never cheat on anything. I never have. I never will. In any way, shape, or form. I am not a cheater. I am one of those people that believes if I forgot to study for the test, then I get a bad grade on the test. And that's a learning experience for me. Rather than cheat and ruin my reputation, and it affects your integrity. So just a little heads up on that. I do get very upset when I catch people cheating. And I have no problem calling you out in front of everybody. I have no problem calling you out in front of all my classes. And I will do that. The people that were cheating on AR, when they got their progress report and they were like, I have a 0, I said, well, that's because y'all were cheating, remember? And I called them out in front of everybody. And then the next class came in and I said, hey, so if you got a 0 on AR, but you know you took the test, probably because you're cheating. And they know who they are, So just so you know, and you're not going to, be upset. I'm telling you straight up, if you cheat, I will call you out and I will not be happy with you. And like I said, it affects my opinion of you as well. It's being, having integrity as a person, showing that you do the right thing no matter who's around, no matter who's watching. That's the core value of Southwest, and that's the core value of most people. I understand grades are important. I understand you're worried you might not do well on that AR quiz or on that essay. But the essay you can always revise and edit and fix, and the AR quiz can always come to Saturday tutoring for extra credit. So don't let your integrity slide because you're afraid of a bad grade. There are ways to fix a bad grade. Okay? The last part here is your parent agreement. This is the part where your parent signs. It basically just says that they read through the syllabus, they read through the contract, and they're going to support and encourage you. They're going to help you if they have any concerns. They're going to contact me ASAP. Like I said, the email, fastest way. I can usually get back to them within 24 hours. They phone. Sometimes I don't even get it for, like, last year there was one time I didn't get a parent message for like a month because they put it in my box. They never even told me. And so it was in a stack of papers. I didn't see it for like a month. So email is always the best way to go. They can email me in Spanish. I read fluently in Spanish, not a big deal. So, you know, if your parents are stronger in Spanish or another language, I can always get a translator if they speak, you know, something else, another foreign language. I can always get a translator. So it's not a big deal. Communication is key. So don't, you know, let your parents know that for them not to be afraid to communicate, to ask questions. You know, a lot of times with 175 students, you know, I get maybe 15 parents that'll email me or call me. Like I said, usually email is the one I get. And they're like, you know, why did my daughter have a 75 on this assignment? And I'll be like, okay, let me look it up. If they don't question me, it just stays, you know. But if they are concerned about your grades and they bring that to my attention, then I go and I look, because I input grades and I don't, you know, like sit there and go, oh, so-and-so's failing again. That doesn't hit with me usually, unless a parent says, hey, my kid is failing. Can you tell me why? And then I can tell them. And then I'll usually talk to you and I say, hey, your mom emailed me. She's concerned that you're failing. You know what you're missing. You should get it done because she's very upset. And that just that helps you get a better grade, and that helps you, and that helps them to get you where they want you to be. Does that make sense? I think so, right? So let them know communication is important. If they have any questions, any concerns, shoot me an email. I will specifically sit down and look at what they're asking about, because otherwise, you know, 175 students at any given time, 30 or 40, you guys are failing, and it's not going, I'm not going to pull you aside individually and say something to you unless your parent comes and makes me aware of it. So just a heads up on that. And so they sign their email, their phone number, and you return this page. You can keep the other 4 pages at home. Your parents can keep them so that they can look back and see, you know, the policies and things like that. But this page, only this page, comes back to me signed, and it's worth 100. Probably the easiest grade you could possibly get in this class, and undoubtedly there will be at least 50 of you that don't do that, and that always blows my mind. If you lose it, extra copies will be in the red pocket chart by the door. You can pick it up, but very important, easy 100. Just make sure you get this part signed, okay? And that is your syllabus for this class. If you have any questions, shoot me an email or write them down, and the next time you come in, I can answer them for you. For what's left of class, you're just going to do a real quick and easy assignment. You're going to create a nameplate. That way I know who you are when you come in, and I can start to get to know your names. The directions are fairly easy. On the construction paper, you can pick any color you want. You're going to put your name. You can put a nickname as long as it's appropriate. Again, no, last year I had a student, his name was Jesus. He wanted to be called J-Dog, so he wrote it on there. I called him J-Dog all year. About mid-year, he was like, I'm tired of you calling me J-Dog. And I was like, well, then you shouldn't have put it on your nameplate. So whatever nickname you do use, make sure it is one that you actually use. Like if your name is Roberto and you prefer to be called Bob, then write Bob. Also on your nameplate, you're going to write 3 truths about you and 1 lie. It's for a game we're going to play next class period where everybody tries to guess the lie. So you want to try and make it a believable lie. And you just write them on there on the front. You can see my example any which way you want to write it, and then you can go ahead and decorate it a little bit. There's some markers over by the window. Add a little bit of color to it because you'll be holding on to that. Make sure you turn it into the substitute teacher before you leave the classroom. Okay, enjoy.